सोचून पेगावाला लाईचा वेलामा गेलवाई जिन्नोरबो सोचून पेगावाला आहा नतीस की युलदुमरा दिरू
This is homage to Manjushri, the Buddha of Wisdom. So here, my great teacher, Jesu Rinpoche, from whom I have received many teachings, and then other brothers and sisters, to everyone. This kind of summer Buddhist congregation has been held since 7 years, and this time it's being held here in Samstanling Monastery. Many students are gathered here, and many monastics also are gathered here, and also many lay people, the general public. So we have all gathered here regarding how important this kind of congregation is, and I would like to thank everyone gathered here, and the organizers have actually done very well in organizing this congregation. So I don't have much to say. The main teachings that I will be giving is tomorrow and the next day. So because we have a separate teaching, here today I would like to say, as someone in his speech said, in Tibet in the past, so there was the study of what are known as the 5 major and 5 minor subjects. 5 major consists of logic, study of logic, arts, signs of healing, which are not so much Buddhist teaching as such. And then there is also the inner science, which is about Buddhism. And then the 5 minor sciences are not so much about Buddhism as well. So people here gathered here could be believers as well as non-believers, and amongst the believers there are people from different religions, traditions. So why we are gathered here is mainly for promoting and making more progress and development in our education system. So science and logic and psychology are something which we do not really need to talk about as religious subjects, but they are more intellectual and academic subjects. So although what we study in our texts come from the Buddhist literature, what we find in this Buddhist literature, which are written by Indian masters, are the different philosophical traditions of India. So which shows that there was so much, the study of logic, epistemology and so forth were prevalent in India in those ancient times. So today, although there were so many great scholars in the past in ancient India, I mean, we don't see that those many scholars in the ancient Indian thought today. But these Indian thoughts are kept alive in our Buddhist monastic institutions, where we study not only word for word, but we also go through rigorous study by through the process of analyzing the different thoughts and philosophical ideas and so forth, by first of all rejecting or refuting the others' positions, and then establishing one's own position, and then rebuttal of any criticism to one's position. And so this kind of tradition that we have kept alive is thanks to the great Indian masters such as Chandarakshita and Kamalashila, who actually introduced the Nalanda monastic institution tradition in Tibet in the 8th century. So we have kept this Nalanda tradition alive, and I feel that today we can actually contribute to the world from our own culture, which has come from India, the Nalanda tradition. So this Nalanda tradition is something which is relevant to the people of Himalayan region. So you should keep this in mind. So ancient Indian knowledge about psychology teaches us how we could actually make transformation within ourselves by seeing what kind of emotions are disturbing us and others, which will not go away merely through prayers but and faith alone, but we should actually see the reasons why they should be overcome, and we should see which kind of emotions and states of mind are beneficial to us, ourselves and others, and which are harmful to us and others. So we need to understand the workings or the system of mind and emotions, such as how love and compassion and so forth are helpful to us and so forth. And to understand these, we don't need to talk about past and future lives or reaching liberation and nirvana and so forth. But we need to see how our arrogance, anger, jealousy and so forth are harmful to us. So of course, when we talk about pride, there is an aspect of pride which is that of arrogance, but pride itself is not something negative, because we need pride and self-confidence. So when you go to such a length where you actually look down upon others, despise them, that's the kind of pride which is called arrogance. And this is something which we would consider negative, so to be overcome. So we need to see which kind of mental states are harmful to us. not only yourself as an individual, but if you look at this society or the community that you live in, I mean, what kind of states of mind actually creates division within ourselves, and unfriendliness amongst ourselves should be understood. So there is so much war and conflict going on in the world, which are not merely because of material things, but it's because of this unruly state of mind that we are indulging in. So that's why we need to see the reasons to transform ourselves by seeing the reasons. So these transformations will not come about merely through prayer and faith, and therefore there is need for logic and epistemology. And logic that we use in studying our philosophical texts are meant actually to internalize them within ourselves. So this can be done by us as humans, not the animals, who are able to create so much problem and difficulties to ourselves and others by using this intelligence that we have. So as we have this intelligence, we need to use it properly, correctly, and see the workings and the system of mind and emotions, so that we are able to transform ourselves. So these knowledge about the mind can also be extended to medical systems as well, because in order to keep physical health, we need to know how our mind has a great role in maintaining our physical health as well. And therefore, not only taking medicines for physical ailments, but if you are able to maintain peace and calm within your mind, you'll have good health as well, physical health. So, without touching religion, we can use the psychology that we find in the Buddhist literature for our mental health as well as physical health. Therefore, we can say that this knowledge can be used in medical systems as well. So the classical texts that we study are really wonderful. Although these texts were written by, belong to religious tradition, but we can take these subjects as academic or subjects for health care. And logic actually makes you sharp. If you are learned in logic, you will not say yes to anything anyone says. You will immediately ask why and how. These questions will be raised by you. So the more questions you are able to raise, you'll be able to delve into the matters more deeply. And you'll be able to see whether when somebody says something, you could also say see whether the person has some reason, is saying something reasonable or not, or whether the person is just saying something out of blind faith or not. When you learn logic, so whether it's religion or psychology, health, politics, and so forth. If you are able to learn logic well, you will be able to analyze things through reason and logic, and whatever you say would be also logical and reasonable. And therefore, you'll be able to say things in a logical way to convince others. So we are talking about how we could use this human intelligence to promote health and understanding of psychology and so forth, to make transformation within, without having to talk about religion as such. So I thought that logic and psychology that we have in our Buddhist literature could be used for our health, mental as well as physical. So I would like I'm very thankful to Gaden Teso Rinpoche for organizing and for the Ladakhis for organizing this kind of summer Buddhist congregation, and particularly here today I thank Gaden Teso Rinpoche, because last year when I was here, Rinpoche told me that he would organize this Yarchos Chenmo here at Samstanling Monastery, and I thank him, and everything is well organized. So while we are congregated here, it's not merely for people to see how others, how the monastics and other people debate, but even the lay people are made aware of our own traditional knowledge. So the ladies earlier debated on the three objects of refuge, the three ratna, although which is quite, they have chosen a good subject, but for me it would have been better, I think, if they had chosen the subject for their debate, study of mind and mental emotions and so forth. So when they were debating, the ladies were debating, I actually this thought came popped up in my mind, if they could have debated on Lorik, the study of mind and emotions and perception and so forth. So wherever I go around the world, I never say that Buddhism is the best religion. I never try to propagate or Buddhism as such, because we cannot say this religion or that religion is the best one without relating the religion to a particular individual. So the Buddha himself gave teachings to varieties of people with varieties of mental dispositions, such as the teachings of Theravada or Pali tradition, and then the other teachings in Sanskrit tradition and so forth. And within the Sanskrit tradition, there are those of the Chittamatra philosophical view and school and Madhyamaka philosophical school, and these philosophical ideas or concepts were taught by the Buddha according to the mental dispositions of these different disciples. So I never say Buddhism is the best. Whether something is best or not can be explained on the basis of the individuals. For example, it's like a medicine, I say. A medicine you cannot pick up a medicine and say this is the best medicine. And whether medicine is good or not has to be understood or decided according to the need of the patient. You have to also see the patient's physical condition, age, and so forth, and then say, oh, this medicine could be the best for you. You cannot generalize. So when I talk about past and future lives these days, I sometimes see it better to say that there is an independent self apart from the body, the five aggregates. Because once you die, the five aggregates, including the mental aggregate of this particular life, is no more. And therefore, what we say is the consciousness, continuity of the consciousness actually goes on from this life to the next life. And we come to say that the subtlest consciousness or mind goes from this life to the next, and has come come from the past to the next life, to this life. So it's when you have to explain to people like this, it sometimes becomes quite difficult to understand and comprehend to people. But if you say that some kind of a soul goes from this life to the next and so forth, it seems to be more, easier to explain to people. So according to the mental dispositions, we need to also see the different religions in that context, and whether some religion is best to somebody or not has to be explained on that basis. And regarding Buddhism, it is something that's a tradition which uses logic to demonstrate the truth of the teaching of the Buddha. Master Nagarjuna in his Mula Madhyamaka Karika says, nothing arises from self, another, both, and or without any causes, anywhere, anytime. And so, as such, the Nalanda masters like Nagarjuna and Dharmakirti and so forth used reason and logic to demonstrate the truth of the teaching of the Buddha. So in Madhyamaka Avatara by Chandrakirti, he also mentions that even within the teaching of the Buddha, if there are certain words or teachings of the Buddha which were taught according to the needs of the disciples at that time, need or the mental disposition, therefore there are these teachings which cannot be taken literally but must be interpreted otherwise. And therefore we have such a tradition which uses reason and logic and not just accept the teaching of the Buddha on his words alone. And therefore we are able to go have discussions and sit together with modern scientists. And when we started these discussions and dialogues with scientists, we have been able to see that it's mutually beneficial. We are able to learn so much from the modern scientists, and they also learn a lot from our study of mind, psychology, and logic, and so forth. So we have what we call the 5 major sciences. So which we have kept, and we need to pay more attention to these 5 subjects. So many of us also follow the teaching of the Buddha in a simplistic way, merely by making prayers. That's not what we should do. But what we need to do is, first of all, make yourself understand what the teaching of the Buddha is by learning it through logic and reason, and which I will talk in the next days. And that's all. Thank you.